Hello, welcome to Hack Shack Studios. I'm RT Bear, 35-year comic book veteran. I'm old. Be nice. Be kind. Respect your elders, you all. So sorry about the delay. I see a lot of people in the chat already. I was having a bunch of camera problems. One of these days I'll have it all figured out. But I think I got it to a good place right now. And so let me see what everybody's thinking. I'm going to be working on a panel of page 35. I've changed my mind and I came up with a better idea for the last panel for this page. So I will be working on that. And I just realized I almost showed you the page, but there's a bunch of spoiler alerts on it. So I cannot show you those things. So I'm putting Post-its over the page. It ain't easy being me. I'm telling you right now. It ain't easy. It ain't easy being green. Okay. So I got a couple Post-its going over. So it's going to be harder for you to see. Okay, Boomer, Edgar says. All right, so let me catch up. We have Edgar. RT Bear is actually a time traveler sent from the future to save comics. You're damn right. And then he insults me with this. I'm a time traveler who hasn't figured out technology yet. But I have the time machine all worked out. At least that part of it I do have worked out. Edgar says, Art Chrono Mechanics logo looks suspiciously like the John Tron logo. Are you ready for the lawsuit? John Tron? Who's John Tron? I'll sue the shit out of him, man. There've been so many people that have been swiping Chrono Mechanics, man. You look at like Disney movies that came out after I pitched Chrono Mechanics to Disney. There are all kinds of ideas in there. It pisses my wife off every time we see certain Disney movies. So, yes, I'll look into that. And Chrononauts was one as well. That's a comic book. All right, we have Comic Book Legend. Hey, Art, hope you are well. Just wanted to mention that you really need a hot female character added to your Chrono Mechanics team to make it more appealing and desirable. Hot female card, cover, etc. All right, you wanted it? You wanted it? All right, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Wait. Let me do something first. I'm going to do something first to make sure I got it set up. Otherwise, the payoff won't work. There it is. All right. Okay. So here we go. I'm back. Okay, now I'm going to screen share something with you guys to answer your question. Boom. Hot Chicks with Doug. It's a cover, you guys. It's a variant cover in the Chrono campaign, and it's Doug with all his minions of groupies. And these are as hot as cartoon drawings will let you get. I don't know. I guess they could be a little more voluptuous, but they were drawn by Tom Bancroft. And there are a couple hotties in the book as well. And some of those hotties are pretty well endowed. So let's bring on my buddy, my co-host. Death Metal, what's up?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Good. This was quite a monumental getting all this stuff together today. So I'm sorry about the delay.
Don't worry about it, man. I was worried that I was taking too long because the traffic is proportional to how much of a hurry I'm in. You know, if I'm not in a hurry, roads are clear. You know, but if I'm in a hurry, tons of cars.
That's the way life works, man. That's the way this stupid ass camera I have works. I'm telling you right now, I go into camera mode, right? I get all my settings. It looks freaking amazing. And then I come over to StreamYards and it's like, what?
Everything's janky. Yeah.
Everything's crazy janky. And I don't know, I had a yellow hue on everything. And I'm like, where is this coming from? So
No
then,
bueno.
yeah, then all I can do is go into like crazy mode where you just start clicking a bunch of buttons and moving levers until you get the right combination.
Uh-oh.
I write it down, but what I'm finding is because the lighting changes in this room
Right.
throughout the day. So when I go and I try to use those same settings, they don't always work. So it's kind of like reinventing the wheel every time I want to do one of these things. And the reason I'm stressed out is
you're breaking up. Chat, can you still hear him? I can't hear him.
what happened?
You kind of roboted out for a second, and then it went silent.
Beep bop bop boop bop. So
Yep.
you can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah,
Yeah,
Shinto Ketchup said he couldn't hear you either.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that, let me check my connection here. Yes, it's still good. Is I want the camera to look good for the auction tonight on EVS's channel.
Oh, nice. They're doing an art auction tonight.
Yeah, so I'm going to tease some of that artwork today. And
hell yeah.
I also have a fellow Fred Hembeck fan with Death Metal Hero here.
Yes.
So I'm
Fred.
I'm going to show that piece off. Fred Hembeck did not get a lot of love in Winger's chat yesterday.
What? Sacrilege.
Yeah, I think it mainly came from Carl O'Roe, but he's a youngin. He's a youngin. He doesn't know anything.
That's all right. We'll forgive him that one just this once.
I just thought it was funny because I actually sent the chat in the green room. I sent the artwork, and so then Adam Post put it up, and they were like, "What is this?" Like to them, it was the most foreign thing in the world.
What?
I know, right?
I mean, the backup stories, the little fun comics that he used to do, like, and like the little Marvel bullpen stuff. Like, I mean, those are classic.
Oh,
like I got introduced to Peter Porker through one of Fred Hembeck's backup stories in an issue of Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah. Did he create? That looks like a Fred Hembeck design. Did he design that character initially?
No, I was actually looking that up today, as a matter of fact, after I saw that, because I thought that he had. Let me see if I can bring that up. It was somebody different. Let's see.
Oh, I have Buddy Lord says you could always use OBS, etc. Yeah, but OBS has got its own set of pitfalls. Like StreamYard is so freaking intuitive. For somebody like me, StreamYard was a blessing. I used to use OBS, but man, you talk about there are so many hurdles you have to go through just to get that thing to work. So I appreciate.
Yeah, I've been playing with OBS, trying to figure out how to make it work, and it's been a chore.
Yeah, there's a lot of levers and buttons to push.
Yes, there are. I got a new webcam. It's it's a Logitech webcam, and it theoretically takes out the background automatically for you. But I can't use Chroma Guard or whatever it is with StreamYards. I mean, so trying to juggle all these different things, trying to figure things out.
Yeah, well, I'm a year into this, and each format has its own set of problems. Mm-hmm. So we used to go through, oh my gosh, what was it? I forget what it was called.
I know people used to use Google Hangouts.
Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah, Hangouts. Yeah. And so, that worked a certain way, and now StreamYard works a certain way. And OBS, you do get a great resolve. You really do.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Somebody like me, it's just as hard to get it all to work. Did you find the Hembeck?
Yeah, Larry Hama and Tom DeFalco created Larry Hama, Tom DeFalco, and Mark Armstrong. And then the cover to Peter Porker's Spectacular Spider-Ham by Joe Albello.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah. Marvel Tales featuring Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham came out in 1983. It's Marvel Tales, Tails.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you find any of that, the Marvel like stuff that Hembeck had done? So maybe we can give people a point of reference. I also have an amazing Chrono Mechanics piece that Fred Hembeck drew up for me.
Dude, so cool.
God, I was so
cool.
flattered. I thought everybody thought he was cool until last night.
Well, what do they know?
Was like Winger says, it really was just Carl. He threw Carl under the bus there.
Yeah, that's all right. He's young. He can handle it.
Yeah, he'll learn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Who's the cartoonists nowadays? Like, there used to be such an amazing amount of different people that did, like cool little cartoons. All the Mad Magazine guys, and even Marvel had even Sergio. Didn't Sergio Aragonés do some Marvel stuff as well?
Oh yeah, I mean, Gru used to be published through Marvel back in the day. Marvel used to be like all about the licensed stuff. Now I think Dark Horse has been putting out Sergio's stuff.
I remember Image was doing it for a while.
Let's see.
Because it was like Marvel Bullpen or something. It was like the letters column or something, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's usually where it was. It was in either right in the middle of the book where they do the bullpen, or at the end, right before the letters column.
And then Cup of Joe dethroned it.
For better or worse. Let's see.
I reserve comment. While we're looking, I'm going to show people what I'm doing here. Oh, you found it.
Yeah, I found Fred Hembeck Destroys the Marvel Universe.
There you go.
Classic, man. Yeah. I've been friends with Fred on Facebook for years. He's such a cool dude. Very humble, down to earth.
Yeah. What does he do? He does something special for people's birthdays. I remember one year he did something. I forget. It was like a caricature or something he doodled up real quick and sent it to me.
Yeah, he'll write like a little, like almost Dr. Seussian type limerick and send it to you on your birthday.
Yeah, he's really cool.
Yeah, he's good dude. Let's see, what else can I find here for Fred Hembeck?
Let me see. I think I can. Wait, that's not it. How do I go full screen? Is that full screen now? That's bigger, right? Yeah. Oh, he parodied the Art Adams like Dynamic Forces print. That's cool. Oh my gosh.
I have never seen this piece before. That's fantastic.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
What always stood out to me were the swirls that he'd put on the knees.
Well, if you notice the Chrono Mechanics characters, yeah, they got little swirls on their joints.
You can always tell a Hembeck piece by the swirls on the knees and the elbows.
He inspired my swirl.
That's awesome. Here's a more recent one. Let's see if I can I zoom in on that?
House of M. There you go.
Yeah. House of Hem.
Hembeck, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he does like little pieces and puts them up on eBay. He'll do like modern characters, his take on modern characters, and then post them up on eBay. He's been doing that for a while too.
Yeah.
I wish they'd put him on a Spider-Ham book. That would be amazing.
Oh, I know. That's why I thought that he had at least had a hand at designing the character.
Right.
Because it looks like a Fred Hembeck design.
I mean, like I said, that was my introduction to Spider-Ham, and I thought that, he was the only artist that would do Spider-Ham. So,
yeah.
Let's see if I can find Spider-Ham.
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Ham. Oh, there is that? Yeah, that's him.
I think anyway.
Yeah, it's a little different, but you can kind of. I was thinking like the nose and the way, because it's kind of geometric when everybody draws it, and Fred gets that way sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking for the old one. I mean, that no. That's more along the lines of what I remember.
Yeah. That is cool. I'm sorry, you guys. I think this is really cool. I mean, he's got a funky, cool style, man.
Yeah. I wish I could remember the issue. It was an issue with Doc Ock on the cover that that I first, was introduced to. Yeah, this might be it, actually. This might be the story. Yeah. Yeah, this was the first story that I ever saw with Peter Porker Spectacular Spider-Ham, because he was on a date with Mary Jane Ox or something like that. Chad's probably like, "You guys are boring. What are you doing?"
Yeah, this is somebody else's inks, though. Can you read the credits? Are the credits on that page?
Let's see if I can zoom in.
Because they look like there's a little bit more line weight and stuff to the drawing.
Yeah.
Going down memory lane. This is the Fred Hembeck hour, you guys.
Yep.
You can't read it. Is it too small for you two? In the yellow, is that the credit box there?
Yeah. Fred Hembeck, words and pictures. Joseph P. Albello. Inks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it. It's a little thicker and it's a little more, I guess, Marvel style.
Yeah.
A little bit of more of a Marvel house style at the time. Yeah. All right, you guys. All right, I got something to share with you guys. Let me see
Let's
if I
see
can
it.
find it. I'm gonna go in. Let me see. I don't know how that works. Do I have to click out of yours, or can I just will mine go over yours? Let's see. Stop camera. What did I do?
It's a death metal show.
You're there. All right, we're good. Okay.
Show them the awesomeness that Fred sent.
Yes. This is what Fred. This is the artwork that Fred did for me. Boom.
That is so cool. Like just to know, like, a legend like Fred Hembeck is a fan of what you're putting out. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it was totally out of left field and very, very flattering. So I thought it was exceptionally cool, and yeah, he really likes the Chrono characters. So
It seems like something right up his alley too.
Yeah, so this was exceptionally awesome. I was so flattered that he did this.
Just look at the disdain on Caravaggio's face. Like, he totally nailed it. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is so perfect.
And Oot, his oversized upper torso, and then the tiny little legs. It's great.
Massive fists, yeah, and then with his construction hat on, yeah, he did such a good job. And I got some other artwork. Do you want me to share it with you? Some other like legends that have done Chrono Mechanics artwork over the past couple of years? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have Sam Liu here. Do you know who Sam Liu is?
No, I'm not familiar, but I like the piece.
Sam Liu was a friend at Extreme Studios,
Nice.
and I think he did a run on Cybrid, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
That's probably his biggest claim to fame. And so he went on to work at Sony and did a lot of the animation, and then he went over to Warner Brothers, and so he directs all of those like superhero movies that have come out. So he works with, is it Bruce Timm? Yeah, he worked with Bruce Timm. So he's like Bruce Timm's right-hand man, and so now he directs all of those direct to like video DC movies, cartoons.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So like backstory on Sam and I, we were friends at Extreme Studios, and then Jeff Matsuda and I were leaving Extreme, but we wanted to keep working like, together. So we were trying to find studios. And so then we found a studio, and then Aaron was it Arn, or it was Chris Leitner, the
Mhm.
colorist, and Chris and Arn later created liquid coloring. So
Oh, no kidding.
yeah,
Wow.
they were big time. And
Yeah.
so Chris came, and so it was me, Jeff, Chris, and then Sam came over, Sam Liu, and then Chap Yap or Yape came over and started working out of the same office. So we had a studio space with all of us. So it
That's
became
so
kind of
cool.
the Extreme Studios flop house, like
Yeah.
everybody would come over and work out of the studio there. And it was a pretty good, we were over by John Wayne Airport, if anybody knows Orange County. And that was a little bit of a commute for us. So then we moved it over into Yorba Linda, Anaheim Hills, which was close
Mhm.
to where we lived. And it was a bigger facility as well.
Nice.
Yeah. And then those guys, we all did comics for a couple years. And then when the studio kind of, I guess fell apart, I stayed there, but those guys moved on. They
Mhm.
went over to Sony, and Jeff's big claim to fame, Jeff Matsuda's outside of comics, was he designed the Jackie Chan Adventures.
That was a great cartoon.
Yeah, and then he went on to the Batman show.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, which was led by Sam Liu. So Sam did a lot
Wow.
of the overseeing and directing on that series. So those guys went on and just took the comics industry or the cartoon industry by storm.
It's funny that you bring all this up because I was actually just having a conversation with one of my regulars at the shop today about how a lot of our favorite artists from the 90s moved into animation and television, and Jeff Matsuda's name came up.
Yeah.
He worked on. He's apparently been working on some of the DC animated movies as well. I think my friend said.
Yeah, and he does video game design as well. I think what is his is it X-Ray Kid? I think X-Ray Kid is his studio.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, and then I have another one here, and this is
Wow, that's trippy.
Chris Chua, and gosh, the comics industry kind of didn't support this man, but I met him years and years ago at the New York Comic Con, and I was so taken by his comic work, his art, and this was all pen and ink, like he was working traditionally, and I was like, so what's going on? He's like, I just can't get work. And I said, well, your work is very challenging. I said, it's going to be hard to break into the mainstream. And so I left, I came home, and I was thinking, what can I do? I need to work with this guy. And so I wrote a Chrono Mechanics story with Pablo Picasso. So
Nice.
Pablo Picasso, believe it or not, at one time was a janitor. He worked as a janitor for Chrono Incorporated. So he cleaned up the messes and stuff after people. And so he would he would kind of use some of these facilities as his studio because he was poor. He was working, he hadn't made it yet. So he was in the what did we call it? The reality distribution plant. So he was in there painting, and just like most artists were very sloppy. So his work, his paint and everything's all over the place. So he slipped in the paint and fell into the reality distribution main tank. And so what he found is that he could actually recreate reality. So then he turned reality into a Picasso painting. So it starts off with my style of drawing, and then once Picasso takes over, then it goes to Chris Chua style.
Nice.
Yeah. So then I just asked him to do a pinup a couple years ago, and he put this one together. And man, it's a treasure, man. I love this thing.
That is a trippy piece. I dig it. I love the color interaction.
Yes.
And that's all traditional?
Yes,
Wow.
like watercolor and
Beautiful.
stuff. Yeah, like I think those are like inks, like color ink.
Oh, nice. I've actually been playing around with some alcohol inks that I got at Hobby Lobby.
Yeah.
And been
No,
trying
it's
to
a
use
lot
them
of
like
fun.
watercolors.
Yeah,
That's
you can.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So it's challenging, and I think he's working as a caricature artist at an amusement park back east. I think he's doing very well, but
Well,
it's
that's good.
such a waste, like just to do caricatures.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of like the really talented individuals kind of gravitated away from comics to do other things. I mean, I've always heard that there wasn't a whole lot of money in comics, but it's I wish that we had more of that amazing talent still kicking around.
Yeah, just to give, the landscape something different and unique.
Yeah,
Yeah,
add some I don't know, add some hills and valleys to do something with the topology of comics, as it
yeah,
were.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show off some of this stuff too, because in the Kickstarter, not Kickstarter, listen to me, in the Indiegogo campaign, screw Kickstarter.
Right?
um, uh, yeah, there's posters and prints, there's packages, but
Oh,
you
that's
can't see
cool.
them very well because they're really small on the side. So I thought I'd show them off here on the stream.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so this is Doug. Doug is kind of he's a hybrid of Ted Nugent and Steven Tyler, So he's got the
I could
voice of
totally see
Steven
it.
Tyler and the bombastic guitar playing of Ted Nugent. So
Shit, man, that sounds like a great way to be.
a
I
world
mean, if you,
tour, 1978. So he's obviously a 70s rocker. And
uh-huh.
and there's the Ted Nugent reference, the double go gonzo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Motor City Madman.
Yeah, and then it's called the D Tour. And so then there's tour dates and stuff like that. So this is like a promotional poster, like for concerts and for a tour.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I thought this was a fun piece. So this is part
that's
of the
awesome.
Indiegogo Chrono campaign as well. And so it says in association with Pamela K Management. Pamela K is my wife.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so I brought some of my friends in there. Yeah.
Heck yeah. I mean, if you're creating your own world, why not throw some of your friends in?
Yeah. And so then here is The Time to Panic. This is also an oversized print that is featured in the Indiegogo campaign, which there is a link in the description, you guys. So if you want to check that out.
Yeah, you guys should back Chrono Mechanics. I did.
Yes, please. And thank you.
So
Yes.
are these going to be included as like stretch goals, or are these tiers of their own?
Yeah, these are tiers of their own. And I
Nice.
believe they're also in, so there's a tier unto themselves that you can just kind of, it's kind of works as an add-on. So you can get the print package, but
Nice.
in the ultimate tier, I believe all the prints and posters come with that tier. And so
Nice.
then here's
Get the whole kit and caboodle.
here's the Tom Bancroft, so you can get a better view of it. So Disney Animator did me a solid.
Wow.
Yeah, this thing came out. Yeah, it's
That
crazy.
is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if people don't know Tom, Tom is a Disney animator, and I met him a few years back, and we just hit it off. And I met a lot of people like through Chrono Mechanics, like animation people. So they really, really responded to the concept in the comic book. And so Tom was one of those people. So he's like, if there's anything I could do, let me do a poster or something like that. So he did this piece of artwork. So I thought we'd put it in as a print, as a mini print, and as a variant cover.
Nice.
Yeah,
Hell
and
yeah.
my buddy Sean Ellery did the coloring, so he did a really good job here.
That is really cool.
And then we have Cheeks, the great Cheeks Galloway.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I got a buddy that has collected quite a few of Cheeks's figures. His special super duper figures that he does that are based on his design work. That's how I got introduced to Cheeks Galloway.
Yeah, they're like maquettes, right? They're
Yeah.
super sculpture, and they're like a foot and a half tall or 2 feet tall. They're big, right?
Yep. He loves those things, man.
Yeah.
I think they're made out of like vinyl or something like that.
Are they? So
Yeah.
they're not like a resin. They're not like solid or like heavy like a resin.
If I remember correctly, I want to say they're made out of vinyl. I could be wrong.
Well, I don't know. I've never picked one up, but they just
Yeah.
seem like one of those resin type statues.
Yeah.
Just looks heavy to me, substantial.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I didn't touch them. I just saw them up on the shelf. I was like, wow, those are pretty cool. He's like, yeah, that's Cheats Calloway, man. I was like, okay, cool. Never heard that name before, but all right. I dig the design.
I go to those shows and I grab these. Well, I want to grab them and touch them, but I'm always kind of like a kid. Like, what if I dropped it? Because those things are always like $100 or something. They're always expensive. So I just don't want to be that guy that drops it. So I never touch them.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm that kind of clumsy individual that would, pick something up like that and then drop it and feel really bad about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I prefer to just avoid that.
I just put my hands in my pockets.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see you in the chat, Carl. Those are fighting words there, buddy.
Wait.
Hembeck is awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna go back and see what this hubbub's all about. So what is Carl saying?
He's saying down with Hembeck.
Oh, come on, man.
Now you're just being contrarian.
Where is the love? I'm not gonna stop, Carl. I'm not gonna let up until you actually profess your love for the Hembeck cat. Every day it's gonna haunt you. A new Fred Hembeck drawing will show up on your doorstep. What if
Hembeck did a Death Sworn piece for you, Carl? Huh? Would that change your tune?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Sure as hell would.
Actually, that would be really cool. Now that I think about it.
All right, you guys, let's get Chrono Mechanics up there. Get some more backers, and I'll invest in a Fred Hembeck piece just to taunt Carl with.
See what you've started, Carl? Mm-hmm.
I'll commission Fred to do a Death Sworn. Yeah. And if you guys haven't checked out Death Sworn yet, it is in demand on Indiegogo, so go do so.
Mm-hmm. That's another one I backed. Carl, I can't wait for that book, dude. That looks so awesome.
Yeah, it looks pretty bombastic.
Mm-hmm.
Carl, what is this? I'll roll up my sleeves past my swirly elbows and take him on any day. He's an old man. Come on, man. You're gonna fight him?
Well, I don't know. He might surprise you, Carl. He might throw down nice and heavy.
Yeah, he's got old man strength, or he'll be like old wrestlers, like that would they would sneak in a weapon into the octagon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'll knife you.
Whips out a crowbar.
Yeah, or a shiv, or a handy chair.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just happen to be there. All right.
Chair seems about right. Yeah.
Okay, I got to get to drawing. I want to get this panel finished. So
let's see what you got, man.
Let's see what I got. I got to not click on the wrong button here.
Wow, somebody drag racing down your road, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's a nice day, so I got the window open here. So wait. Here we go.
Oh, you said you were going to do a black and white Vampirella cover for Dynamite?
Yes.
Dude, I'm looking forward to that. I just got my my Cyberfrog Vampy cover the other day in the mail.
Sweet.
Yeah, I got the black and white line art variant. So yeah, I've been reading that Vampirella series. It's been pretty good so far. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it should be mid-February. I'm hoping for.
That's awesome. What up, Rooster Puncher? How's it going?
Have you punched a rooster today?
Probably.
They still young.
Carl says he'll throw pencil shavings in my eyes. Oh no. Hey man, those pencil shavings can hurt. That wood will splinter and get right in the cornea. Won't be able to see. Mm-hmm.
Let's not even make a joke about that, man. I make my living based on my eyes.
Yeah, well. Yeah, that's true. Same here. Kind of need it in order to be able to read. God, I do love reading.
That old chestnut.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's like the what was it, the Twilight Zone episode where dude's the last guy left on Earth and he finally has time to read and then his glasses breaks.
Oh my gosh.
Or maybe that was just Futurama.
Are you sure that wasn't, was it her name, Velma or whatever from Scooby-Doo?
She
My
always lost her
glasses!
glasses.
I can't find my glasses. It's always the same line.
Yeah. And she's like patting around. It's like, really? Are you that blind? I mean, I can't see very well when I don't have my contacts in, but I mean, I can still tell where my glasses have landed. So, have you heard that they're doing a live action remake of Bambi?
Disney, I'm sorry, they're whores.
Mm-hmm.
That's nuts. What
In the
hell?
chat, if you think Disney has run out of any original ideas, push 1. If you think they're still on to something, press 2. Yeah, and that one scene is already stressing people out.
The death of the mom.
Yeah, it's like it's the impetus for the character. How can you not have that in the movie? Seems
Well, knowing the lack of tact that these new filmmakers have, they'll probably show the setup. Like they'll show the hunters because they can't kind of be artsy with it anymore. They have to be direct, right? So they'll show the hunters in the forest. They'll show them like they're a bunch of beer drinking rednecks, right?
and probably have MAGA hats on.
Yeah, and so then they'll like, oh wait, be quiet. I hear something in the woods, and then they're just like, then they shoot the mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ugh. And that, yeah, subtlety in filmmaking seems to have gone right out the window. Everything's got to be right on the nose.
Because in the cartoon, you don't even see the hunters, right?
I think you see a silhouette of them. That way, you don't actually see people, and it's all animals all the time. If I remember correctly, it's been quite a few years since since I have watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you remember when they used to come up with original ideas? Like Treasure was Treasure Planet Disney?
Yes.
Okay. Like, I mean, technically not a completely original idea, but at the same time, putting a new spin on a classic. Like, why don't they do that anymore? It's like they've forgotten how to make anything new, and they're just like, oh, let's go back to the vault and remake stuff.
Yeah, it's horrible. And there's so much good stuff out there. I don't know why they're doing that. To be honest, I don't know the reason behind that is to keep the IPs going, like without committing. You know what I mean, like without like keeping Bambi alive or all these other IPs, but without the expense of a complete cartoon. And also, so there aren't the direct comparisons to the cartoon. So there will be comparisons, but it's live action. So they feel there's enough removal there. There's enough distance there that
Right.
they, say that, we're not messing with the classics, even though they are.
Well, apparently they're going to do it in the style of The Lion King that just came out recently.
Oh, my gosh.
Central Scrutinizer says the lack of subtlety in modern filmmaking is an outright insult to the audience's intelligence. I agree. For the intelligent audience that's out there, because there seems to be a distinct dearth of unintelligent audience out there too.
Yeah, but I think you should always kind of, I don't know. I don't think you should ever play down to the lowest common denominator. I think you should always kind of, try to elevate. And I'm not saying like be, overly artsy fartsy with anything, but just kind of like elevate it. Or like, don't know, they can go look it up. You know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, some of my favorite comic book experiences were when they would use words that you had no idea what they were, right? And so so you get the full experience of the comic. You would like look it up and go, oh, that's what ominous means,
Uncanny X-Men. I had to look up what uncanny was, so I knew what it meant. You know? You know, they would like, especially Chris Claremont X-Men books. He'd use words all the time that I had to go look up, and I loved it. I felt smart because I was learning new words, you know?
Yeah.
And when I was in middle school, you know, we were talking about DNA, and the teacher asked, does anybody know what DNA stands for? And my hand shot up. I was like, deoxyribonucleic acid. And she's like, very good. Where did you learn that? And I was like, G.I. Joe. You know, Dr. Mindbender, man. Creating Serpentor. You know?
Yeah.
So I agree. We should, you should never play down to the audience. You should try to elevate them. You know, isn't that what art is for? To elevate us, to help us, move beyond what is.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be, everything has to be like a mind challenge or like written, above people's, heads. But I don't know, enough there that it's still entertaining, but at the same time, not insulting.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, believe in the intelligence of your audience so you can tell a good story.
Yeah, never talk down to your audience.
Well, I mean, people can always tell when you do that. You know, you come across as condescending.
Yeah.
And nobody likes to be condescended to.
Right. And for the very same reasons is why comic books that are specifically made for kids don't want to read. And when they, like this new kind of way of marketing where it's like, oh, well, this is girl power comic, or this is whatever power. Like it's always demeaning, and just psychologically speaking, it feels like you are kind of, pandering or talking down to those people. You know what I mean? Like when you're a little kid, you want to read what everybody else is reading. You don't want to read like books for kids, And so the comics were always cool is because they never really said they were just for kids. They were for everybody. So, you never really had that problem. This pen is not working well.
Let's see. Somebody said something. What was it? Where did it go? Scrolled past. Damn it.
You got to go back in time.
Not Joe Fuago says, unless you are Cecil, then you can. Well, I mean, Cecil's a special case, isn't he?
Well, that whole cash grab, everything about Cecil is the exception to the rule.
The exception that proves the rule, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if he was actually that drunk this morning on Ethan's stream or if that was an act, but if it's an act, he's definitely got a lot of practice acting drunk.
I think people prefer the drunk Cecil, though.
Well, that's probably true. That's probably true.
We haven't had a good drunk character in a while. Remember, even like Andy Griffith had like a drunk character. Like it used to be like, humorous gold. You could get the drunk, guy in there, and he was good for a laugh or two.
Oh yeah, a foil. Because you've got you've got the foil for the dude playing the straight guy, and the foil gets the yuckety yuck, and then the straight guy gets the kind of reserved, dry humor off. There's a balance.
Yeah, and we never went, the poor guy, he's drowning his sorrows, with alcohol and stuff. We never like really analyzed it. We just kind of took it at face value, like, oh, this is kind of funny, and laugh at it. Now everything's got like psychology behind it. It's like, well, that's not something you should be able to laugh at. And if you do laugh at it, then you're kind of sick in the head. And it's like, not really. It's funny. Like, when have we got to the point where we analyze humor like that? Like I always say, if it's funny, it's funny, and that's it. You don't have to analyze it.
Well, I mean, that was back when jokes could actually be jokes without, everybody feeling like they've been stepped on or something like that.
Yeah, slighted.
Back when humor was allowed to be humor,
We could laugh at effed up stuff, and it was okay.
Yeah. Well, I read something on the internet, so it has to absolutely be true. But that dark humor is a sign of intelligence. Being able to laugh at dark things is a sign of intelligence.
Well, then
So I guess I'm wicked smart.
Yeah, then I must be the most intellectual out there. Yeah,
Right? I'm wicked smart over here.
But
I laugh at horror movies too. So
yeah, it doesn't have to be all that though. Like I can laugh at a well-tailored joke. Like a George Carlin joke that's well crafted and thought out and gets you to think. It's like thought provoking. But then I can laugh at somebody that smashes his knee against the coffee table, and hops around on one leg. I just don't think like I think people that analyze and intellectualize humor are weird to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's either funny or it's not. And you can be entertained by the most visceral, like weird things. Like my daughter and I watch those fail videos. We watch them for hours and it's just people getting hurt. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, snowboarding. Oh, look at that guy. He lands, with his legs between a tree and smashes his crotch, or somebody's what is that where they run parkour and it's like amateur, and he jumps over the fence and then jumps on the trash can, thinks it's going to support his weight, and then he falls right in the trash can. That stuff is funny.
Yeah, well, I mean that's why Jackass was so successful for so many years.
Exactly.
Granted, those guys were doing things specifically to hurt themselves, but there's a subreddit that's one of my favorite subreddits, and it's Full Scorpion. You know what that is?
No.
Okay, it's when somebody does a face plant, and then their legs curl over the top of their head backwards.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
I'm just thinking about some of the videos I've seen on that subreddit, and if you want hours and hours of just laughing at people hurting themselves, that's definitely the one.
Yeah, I mean, and you can't predict that. Like when my daughter was really, really young, like she would laugh at like if you hurt yourself, like if you were just like walking and then you smashed your knee into something, she would actually think that was funny innately at like a toddler, like like a really, really young kid. And so we respond to those things, like even at our youngest of years, and those things are just universally funny. And I just don't. I think it's weird when we intellectualize this stuff to that degree, or go, oh, you're laughing at that person's expense, and then they make it all kind of like it's sinister and it's, what I mean, like it's a horrible thing to laugh or whatever. It's just bizarre.
Well, it's it makes me wonder. It's like, do these people just want everyone else to be miserable? Like, are they that miserable that they want their misery spread to everybody else?
Exactly. I think they do, actually, because I mean, we've all had friends like this. Like, right? You go out to lunch or something or dinner, and you order the most like decadent meal, right? And they eat like a salad or something, healthy or considered healthy. And so then you're eating your steak and whatever, and then they're like, you're going to eat that whole thing. You know what that red meat will do to you, right? And then they start telling you all these things. It's like, listen, asshole, I already know those things. I don't need you to tell me. And what is this? Like, you're just trying to destroy this moment because you're torturing yourself with that salad. You know what I mean?
Hey man, I like a good salad too, but you know what? If you're lifting weights and you're like trying to build muscle, the best thing to build muscle is animal protein, BCAAs and animal protein. So, yes, I know what that red meat's doing. It's helping me build these guns. That's what it's doing.
Yeah, but it's like if you want to torture yourself, or if you're not enjoying yourself, or for whatever reason, just kind of keep it to yourself.
Let people enjoy things.
You're spoiling my good time.
Metal Movies and Brewskis says Carlin was the best. Yeah, I miss George Carlin. a hell of a lot.
You know what's so cool? It was one of the like few things my dad and I, you get to a certain age when you're, young and you're kind of becoming more of your own person. And so, my dad and I went at odds almost, for everything. But then George Carlin, we'd listen to George Carlin album or see him on TV or whatever, and we'd both just enjoy the hell out of it. So even like an old timer like my dad was like, yeah, George Carlin, because he was kind of the hippie culture or was kind of, had that air about him. And yeah, my dad still liked him, thought he was great.
Not all kids are special, and this is Mr. Conductor speaking here. I know what the f- I'm talking about. It's funny because I'll have some of my regulars come into the shop, and we'll start talking about like old comedians like Carlin or Pryor, or Sam Kinison. Like none of these dudes would be able to have careers now. None of them, because people would get offended and they'd try to cancel them.
Yeah.
Like especially Sam Kinison. Holy hell! Like Sam Kinison was raw for back in the the late '80s, early '90s. There's no way in hell he'd get anywhere today.
Yeah, I saw Canison in Las Vegas, and
Did.
Yeah, it was towards the end, but he was still pretty damn funny. And so he did this thing where he had a phone. This is before cell phones and things like that. So he had a phone set up on stage. And so he would have people tell their woes, like relationship woes.
Right.
And so then he'd say, do you mind if I call your ex? And so, they give their permission. Like, it wasn't like they filled out a bunch of legal forms or anything. They just kind of, acknowledged it. And so he would call them up. And then he would do the Sam Kinison routine on them. It's like, I'm calling on behalf of whoever, and you're a effing slut. You're a bitch. He just starts screaming. Ow, ow. You fucking bitch. You broke this man's heart. Yeah. And you could hear the other side over the loudspeaker. They're like, who is this? Like these innocent like voices. It's like none of your freaking business.
Oh man, it would have been amazing to see Kinison live.
Yeah.
I've seen videos and stuff like that, but yeah. Wow. Yeah, you're right. Metal movies and brewskis. Sam was metal as fuck. Yeah, he was.
My friend, I've always played in like metal bands and stuff like that. So even when I wasn't playing that night, I would roadie for my friends' bands and work tech and stuff for them. So my friend's band is playing the Troubadour, and so he's a singer, and the band was Fortress. Fortress. Yeah, it was like all for one for all. Fortress.
Nice.
What was it? No one shall defeat the wall. Fortress.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they had like a fortress set up and everything. So, anyways, we're coming out of the club, and Sam Kinison's there with a bunch of girls on his arm and stuff like that. And he's like, I gotta talk to him. He's like, but I need a good line. I need a good line, Art. So I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, I got one. And then he walks up to him and he goes, you know what? I saw your act last night, Sam. Awesome. He goes, I laughed so hard my dick fell off. And so then Sam just looked at him and walked away.
Damn.
I laughed so hard my dick fell off.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I kind of wonder what was going through Sam's mind when he heard that. He's like, do I actually say anything to this guy, or do I just walk away? Yeah, I'm just gonna walk away.
Yeah. Otherwise, what I would have done is just did the awkward like, thank you.
Right. Not exactly sure how to respond to that.
Yeah, but thanks, I guess? Question mark. Yeah.
Let's see. So, switching to a new topic, have you heard about the controversy around the Nancy Drew comic?
No.
Well, apparently they're celebrating the character's 90th anniversary, and they're doing a new comic, but it's Nancy Drew is apparently dead, and the Hardy Boys are investigating, and people are up in arms about it because the Hardy Boys are investigating Nancy Drew's murder.
Well, she's not dead. Like, get over it. There's no way that she's going to be actually dead in the story.
Like, right? Like, why bring her back? Why celebrate her, creation 90 years ago to have her dead? It's a mystery. It's a mystery that involves her and the Hardy Boys.
Right. It's like, remember those old comic book covers where they'd have a character dead on the cover?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it would be a funeral or something, and you go, oh, Batman's dead, and the Justice League would all be like, holding their heads down, and like, oh, poor Batman.
Exactly. So I mean, it's another non-controversy that people are up in arms about. But I saw that today while I was at the shop, and I was just shaking my head like, why people won't even give the story a chance to see where it's gonna go. Like, come on.
Well, don't you think like it's really sad where, like, I always thought of myself as not a worldly guy, and two, gullible as shit, right? Like, you could put one over on me so easy. And now I see these people and I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, you're that gullible? Like, you actually think this is what they're going to do? That's nuts. And then, like, some of these people will actually take action on it. Like, oh, that's just not right. Like, you're just playing into the narrative. Like, you're just a stooge.
Well, people like to overreact. The hot take thing. I guess that is where it's at now, because everybody wants to have that first hot take because hot takes make you famous now. I don't know. It's the internet is a silly place.
Write a good story, have a good story to tell.
Write a good story with compelling characters that people care about,
I think it's actually a pretty interesting title. Like, that's when you said it, I was like, yeah, well, that's how you sell books, right? That's how you get interested.
I mean, it's worked for however many years. Yeah, the Death of Nancy Drew, Part 1, and the cover is. Let's see. I'll share my screen that way. Select window. Allow. And yeah, it's the Hardy Boys looking at Nancy Drew's tombstone, and there's a shadow that says "The Death of Nancy Drew." I mean, it might be fun. I can honestly say I haven't read a Nancy Drew book or a Hardy Boys book in a long time, but I remember some of the Hardy Boys books, especially like in the 90s, getting pretty raw. Like, I remember one that was like they were in this like war game, and like there was this actual like military general that was literally trying to start a war in the country, and they had to stop it. Like, it was, it felt like Call of Duty before Call of Duty.
That's epic for a Hardy Boy story.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think I still have it up on the shelf up there.
In the archives?
Yeah. Hang on.
The follow-up to that Hardy Boys story, or that Nancy Drew, is going to be you find out that the Hardy Boys killed Nancy Drew.
Yeah, here it is. Hardy Boys, Death Game.
There you go.
Yeah. Yep, survival camp in Georgia.
Back when they still hired illustrators to do covers.
Yeah. Yeah. You go, that's funny you say that, because I was in Barnes & Noble the other day, and I was looking at some of the covers to novels, and it's, I don't know, it's like Photoshop, montage.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, does nobody actually paint anymore? Now, sometimes you see, digital paintings that are just awesome. Some of the stuff they can pull off with digital painting is fantastic. But, some of these covers, it's just like you just put together a bunch of images that you manipulated in Photoshop. You're not really doing anything.
It's like all the Marvel movie ads, like movie posters and stuff, are the same montage, images. There's nothing that's out of the ordinary. They're all that same kind of layout.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you remember back when like Drew Struzan used to do movie posters, and they were epic and amazing. Like that whole montage thing with all the different sized people and whatnot. I mean, Drew kind of coined that when he did his Star Wars posters. I mean, if I remember correctly, he was one of the first to do that.
Yeah, I think his big blip on the radar for me was the Indiana Jones stuff.
Mm.
Yeah. I still remember that Hildebrandt poster from the first Star Wars.
Oh God, yeah, the one from A New Hope with Luke holding the lightsaber up.
Yeah, it looks nothing like the actors or anything, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, that poster is amazing. The Hildebrandt brothers. Speaking of the Hildebrandt brothers, their IDW is putting out a book of their Marvel masterpieces stuff that they did back in 1992. And I still have all those cards. Oh yeah, it's on my previews order. I got my copy coming. Cannot wait to pour over that thing. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Going to have pictures of the models and breakdowns and layouts and how they did everything. Those guys are something else, man. I don't know, man. Do you think we'll ever see a return to that level of artwork in comics again?
Wow, that's a major question.
Yes. I mean, you've been in this industry long enough. You've seen it change a lot, man.
I don't know, man. I think that there used to be a lot of illustrators that came into comic books. Like do you remember the studio book with the studio was Barry Windsor Smith and Jeff Jones and Bernie Wrightson and
was Kaluta part of that?
Kaluta was part of that. Yeah. And those guys were illustrators that did comic books, man. They were illustrators that did comic books, man. Jeff Jones, holy shit, man. Those guys were so freaking good. And they did comic book work. And I think, there was always the mainstay comic book stuff, but there was also at the same time, there was this level of illustration that existed. And you don't really see that anymore. You kind of see like a comic book style, but you don't really see that kind of illustration. I think the last one that really exists like that is probably Bill Sienkiewicz, but not on that level. Those guys elevated it to Frank Frazetta level, and they were doing sometimes they were doing monthly work.
Yeah. Some of the stuff that Bernie was able to pull off on a monthly basis, holy shit. And never saw a whole lot of Kaluta's interior works, but you could always tell a Kaluta cover when you saw it, just because of the body language and the line weights. And Barry Windsor Smith, I mean, holy shit, Weapon X, the Machine Man miniseries.
Yeah.
My God, just his work blows me away.
Yeah, Barry's my guy. I love that guy's work. I got a book over here. Let me see if I can find it. It's in my bookshelf. It should be. Where the hell is? Oh, I know where they're at. I put them on display and I can't find them because they're on display. They're right here in front of me.
Nice.
But these books right here, do you have these?
No, oh my God. That is epic.
And this is volume 2. Here's volume 1. Look at this.
Wow.
This guy drew comic books.
I know. Drew some damn fine comics too.
Yeah, there's some stuff in here that actually inspired, I'll probably never be able to find it, but inspired some of the Chrono line work, because his line work is just so fluid, his ink work. Like anybody who's thinking about inking or is looking for inspiration, pick up some of this stuff. This is pen and ink, you guys.
God, that is incredible.
But they're little doodles. They're not even like, oh, they're like stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like just the fluidity of these lines.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's just,
and the body language.
Yeah. Like just the expression and the movement of just simple lines. Like this isn't like, coloring book, comic, like not coloring book. Well, coloring book, like animation stuff. Like this stuff moves. And the reason I say coloring book animation is because that's just line art. But this is line art, but it moves. There's weight and there's volume to it.
Yes, that's very, exactly what I was going to say.
And when I see this stuff, it does something for me. So when, like with Chrono, it's just, it is kind of an animation style, but it doesn't have to have that kind of boring animation style line to it. Like these nice, sweet thins and thicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely something to aspire to, man.
Yeah, I gotta find it, man. It's so silly, but it'll show you like how you can find inspiration. Look at that.
Amazing.
The simplest things, because you always look at like this really bombastic stuff, and then I hope I can find it. But then there's like just these simple little line art drawings. It's probably in the other volume. And there's these simple line art drawings that just inspired the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I think it's in the back of the book, but even these are just simple.
Wow.
Oh, it's like stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like I actually found inspiration in this stuff. Like the pin movement on this I don't know, man. It does something for me. It probably doesn't do much for anybody else, but it really does for me. I mean, because you always look at the really big bombastic stuff, and there's more in here that's like that. There's like this whole like little kind of Mobius type story that's just, oh my gosh, look at that.
Yeah.
They say like I ink with like a really like liquid style, like Dan Jurgens would say, like your style is really fluid and like it looks like it's wet, and I think it all comes from like this, like Bernie, like not Bernie but Barry.
Oh yeah. I mean that's definitely a great place to draw some inspiration from.
God, I gotta find that story. Oh yeah, it's stuff like this.
It's awesome. Even simple little drawings like that have a lot of, like you said, weight and substance, and the body language, the fluidity of the characters. They feel real.
Yeah, there's movement to it that even when he's just effing around, I find inspiration in it. Yeah, this is some of his older stuff. This is Marvel. Look at this. If you guys didn't believe us that he actually drew Marvel comics.
Mm-hmm. That Thing story is fantastic too.
Yeah. But yeah, like he's definitely one of my big time inspirations. And this book, like, I don't know, I got these books years ago, but if you can find these things, Fantagraphics,
I'm gonna have to look for those. Those are great.
yeah, they're amazing. Now I got to go back. I'm inspired.
Yes, that's awesome. I'd love to hear that. Yeah, Arthur Brown, the Uncanny Kodiak, was asking why you have the orange Post-its, and it's because you're trying to avoid spoilers, right?
Yeah, there's some spoiler action going on this page, but I needed to get work done, and Death Metal Hero volunteered to hang out with me, so I couldn't refuse.
Oh yeah, get to talk about comics and heavy metal and movies and books and just hang out with the cool chat. Oh yeah, it's a terrible way to spend an evening.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, you get some cool people in the chat, man.
Always.
Skits Comics says, "Hey Art,
what's up, man?" Yeah, Skits has got a pre-launch page, so go to Indiegogo and check out their pre-launch.
Yeah, I was watching this the stream he did with Sweetcast the other day, and then you jumped on right at the end of that one, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, Ethan jumped in. What up, E? He says, Comicsgate art auction in 10 minutes, T-Bear.
Hey, check this out. This is going to be my auction page right here. I'm ready.
Man, look at that hotness.
I got
damn.
Stick it to the bots, and then I have Reed Blackett, aka Black, just destroying this this robot here.
Dude, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Bringing that 90s flair back, man. Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people asking about these, so I think I'm going to make a couple of these available in the show too.
Those head sketches have turned out good, man.
And then
they're awesome.
I'm going to offer, I think I'm going to do this live while we're hanging out. I'm going to ink this. It's kind of in blue line, so it's a little hard to see.
Yeah, but it's Doug.
It's Doug smoking a cig.
Yeah.
Or a
like
jib.
the 70s rock god he is.
Or a jib. You never know.
I mean, it was the 70s.
It was the 70s. There was a lot of that going around. Yeah, well, I'm pretty much done. Well, let me finish up this little section here. Like I said, this is just a patch that I'm going to bring into the page itself.
Oh, is this to replace a panel?
Yeah. Yeah, it's to clarify a story beat, and also this is way more dynamic. This right here, this little doodle here, if you can see it, this is going to be our heroes. So
nice.
I don't have a lot of like scale, but I'm trying to add more scale. Like where you move the camera back and you get things smaller, so you can get the whole scope of the scene.
You can establish where the characters are.
Yeah, but in a way that is a lot different than some of the other panels. I think as artists, sometimes we go with like shots that we're real familiar with and comfortable with. Sure. So one of the other points of why I did this is to kind of give a little bit more variety of shots in the book. Because if they're all kind of medium shots or they're all close-up shots, it gets pretty boring.
Oh yeah, you gotta have that variety. Otherwise, kind of the page looks stale. Doesn't have any oomph.
There's no dynamics. Yeah, there's no pushing and pulling. And one of the things that I really liked about, I think it was McFarlane and a lot of like what we were doing in the 90s is we would. It was real fun. Like you'd do shots like this where you'd have like an intense close up, right? Like here's the panel, like oh, and then you would have like right next to it, you'd have like a pulled back figure. You're like, that's this big, with another, figure or something like that. So you get these like extreme kind of close up with like an extreme pullback, and usually comics and even movie storytelling, it doesn't usually go from like those two extremes like drastically difference. They usually kind of ease into each other unless you go to like an establishing shot, which is like could be a really pulled back shot. But yeah, those guys were pulling off shots like that I thought was really pretty cool. So I kind of forgot about some of that stuff. So I'm trying to, like I said, with this panel, bring those ideas back in.
I kind of feel like a lot of the comics industry has forgot about doing panels like that, because I have to go through one of the jobs I have at the shop is I have to go through the back issues and I have to make sure they're in alphanumeric so people can find things. And I look at the way pages were laid out back then, especially some of some of the pages that Rob and Todd were putting together, and Jim, and just like the vertical panels and like the extreme close-ups juxtaposed with the the extreme wide shot like you were just talking about. Nobody does that anymore. A lot of newer comics seem to just be like these kind of static panels. Like they're medium shots, then close-up shot, then another medium shot, maybe a little bit further out, but nothing really pushing it. And nobody does 2-page spreads anymore, except for my boy Brett Booth. Brett Booth has been doing some awesome work on Bloodshot. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, the reason they don't, and the reason he's probably doing it for Bloodshot, is that DC doesn't really want double-page spreads anymore because digital, it becomes hard to read like double page on an appliance.
Yeah that actually really makes me sad.
But don't worry, you guys, Chrono Mechanics has got plenty of double pages. I'm gonna find one for you guys, and this will be my party shot, and then I'll eat something and prepare for the auction. The auction.
Rooster Puncher, I am reading Voidwalker. I'm waiting for number 2 to come. I had to order it from Alterna. But I got number 3 and number 4 on my previews pull list, so it's coming.
He's a Voidwalker.
It's a good book. Spence is putting together a good book, man. And the artwork is stellar.
All right, I think this is it. And since we're talking about a Rockin stream, this'll fit right in. Okay, let me go back. I got a screen share. Should I try to get this full screen too? The full screen button doesn't full screen though. Oh, there it goes.
False advertising.
Yeah, it didn't last time, you son of a bitch.
You lied to me, full screen button.
I hate technology.
I work in tech support, so I fully feel you. It's
not hyperbole, man. I sincerely hate it. I'm in awe of it. You know what I mean? Like I love being able to hang out and chat with everybody and do this. To me, we're living in the future, to be able to do this in real time. But it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, well, it's just adapting to the new methods of doing things, man.
Well, you have way more patience than I do, though.
Well, I tear computers apart and put them back together. So, believe me, I've had my share of swearing at things and wanting to throw them out the window.
So, can you see the image here?
Yes, dude.
So this is our 70s rocker, Doug. So this is him in all his glory in 1970. I think it's 78 is the year we're putting in there.
Look at the wall of amps behind him. That's awesome.
Yeah, do you see? I even put the Marshall and put the grill in front of it.
Yes, I do.
And look at all, like, I just love like playing with textures. Look at the texture on the amps.
Mm-hmm. That's where my eye went first, actually. That's great.
Yeah.
And see, you're doing like the bombastic panels too, which fits perfectly for the energy of the scene. You've got the kind of vertical, almost exclamation point looking panel, and then you've got the other kind of not square panels, but different polygons, and then breaking the panel there. Dude, this is an awesome page.
Yeah, oh, thank you. It's a montage of like, the night's event.
Yeah.
So we're kind of taking you through, his set list. So the one where he's with the acoustic guitar, right here, I'm glad I have somebody that appreciates rock and roll, because I can get all grim and gritty here.
Yes.
Down and dirty is he's doing a love song, right? He's got his acoustic guitar. The lights are all going to be pink and reddish in color, and he's singing, "Blow the Roadie." That's the song.
That is definitely a ballad title if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. So it's like blow the roadie, or you don't get in. Blow the roadie, or you don't get in. But awesome. It's all acoustic, it's all saying like a love song. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you get it past, Everybody's singing along, not paying attention to the lyrics. Wait a minute. Yeah.
Everybody's like, is this like a kid's book? And I keep saying no. And I think it's the first time I've actually been able to illustrate that it's when I say Doug is a grim and gritty, not a grim and gritty, but like a down and dirty rocker. That's what we're talking about.
I mean, he was what rock and roll was back in the fucking 70s, man.
Yeah. And then I created a beer called Blue Beer. So that's the bottles that are here.
Hell yeah.
It's BLU with those they're called Unuts or whatever, like
Unuts. Yeah.
Yeah, it has
yeah.
Yeah. You can't really see it too well, but like the one where it says "Be Cool" is his tattoo in the corner. That's BLU, blue. And then we have all the roses because the ladies love him. And then there's panties. I don't know if you can see them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's panties, and then there's room 13. There's never a room. Like 13's an unlucky number. So there's there's room keys there. There's panties, roses.
That's fantastic.
This guy's a rocker. And then just to give you a little backstory on it, there's at this point, Doug he's like, I'm done with bands. He's like, I'm not going to be the D in band anymore. It's a weird Dougism. And so this is like his debut without a band. So the setup pages are like, how he didn't need to use a band anymore and how they all met their fate and all that. So all these pedals you see on the ground here, he's got like one pedal that represents one fallen band member. So technology has taken the place of all the different players in his band. So that's kind of what's happening here. Yeah.
So he's trying to be a one-man show.
Yeah, he's just Doug, like just the D, and that's it. Yeah, he's not going to share the stage with anybody anymore. And so then that's obviously a setup for when he gets recruited into Chrono Incorporated, where he has to be part of a team. So he kind of has to learn, how to be an essential part of a team, or else the world is pretty much just going to end. And so that's what this story proper is about. Like, will he or won't he step up to be a chrono mechanic? So
wait a minute, you're going to actually have a character arc?
Possibly. Shame on me.
It's terrible. I mean, how dare you have a character go through progression and become, somebody better and learn something?
Yeah.
That's not how comics are done these days.
Yeah, look at how geeky I am with like rock and roll stuff. See the guitar picks? Remember like the guitar player would put like double-sided tape on the edge of the guitar, and they'd have their guitar picks on them?
Or they'd stick it on the microphone stand. Yeah. Oh, hell yes.
He's got 4 guitar picks down there.
Nice. And somebody in the chat earlier mentioned the Van Halen guitar, with the stripes all over it. Yeah.
But of course, he's going to claim that as his. So he's also quite a bit of a trendsetter. So the mullet, like all good rockers have a fashion attached to them. So his mullet predates, the 80s mullets that came out. So, his hairstyle is what started the whole trend. We're basically rewriting. We're playing hard and fast with history here.
Hey, man, you're telling a time travel story. You can do what you want.
I know that's the best part about time travel.
Mhm.
Like, if you're going to do a time travel story, you guys, this is my advice. Do it with humor, because it gets pretty boring if you don't.
Well, I mean, the logistics of time travel can get, pretty far into the weeds. So you got to do something to jazz it up and make it more entertaining.
Yeah, you got to have fun with it, because
Absolutely.
unless you're able to set up like really stringent rules on the time travel, then it's really not going to work. And
Mhm.
one of the things I wanted to do with Chrono is really, there are rules to time travel, and then we're just going to break every one of them, for comedy's sake. It's kind of like
Mhm.
we were talking about the lowbrow, highbrow comedy, whatever's funny,
Yeah. And then, whatever's funny and serves the story.
exactly.
Yep.
Um,
It
uh,
looks like Shinto ketchup just bounced.
can he drop the D string? There may be some Doug nudity in the book. I'm just saying.
Nice.
I just lost some backers with that one.
More for us.
Yes, yes. Okay, you guys. So I'm going to wrap this up. I got to eat, and then I'm going to go over to the auction. So please, please check out Chrono Mechanics. It's now in demand. It's the funniest damn book you'll ever read, and the artwork is like none that you've ever seen before. So that's my promise. And man, thank you so much, Death Metal Hero, for doing this. This is a lot of
Absolutely,
fun,
man.
and I think our chemistry is starting to get this rhythm down.
Oh, hell
So
yeah.
one of the things we've talked about is possibly doing this, at least once a week. So it'll be fun. It'll be a way to take some of the heavy lifting off me, so I can draw, and you can,
I'm all about it, man.
and dazzle the chat.
Do the jazz hands.
Jazz
Or the
hands.
horns. The jazz horns. There we go. Yeah, this is always a blast, man. Getting to talk about comics and heavy metal and whatever else comes across our minds.
Right. Isn't it weird that like metal went from wah to
Yeah, I think we can thank grunge for that. Grunge kind of came along and kind of popped the overinflated ego of some of that hair metal stuff, and then it kind of got a little bit darker. But I mean, bands like Venom and Death were doing their own thing in the late '80s anyway, so they were kind of moving that direction. And of course, Slayer.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it just went from the high pitch like whoa, like virtuoso stuff to like you like
yeah,
exactly, man.
yeah. I mean, Cannibal Corpse is one of my favorites, so I dig it.
Yeah, well, very good, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on, and you guys have
Absolutely.
a wonderful weekend. Take care.
Hail, chat.
Hell chat.